Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Michael Lauver, and Terry is out tonight, but I am joined by two fantastic hosts from the Unsafe Space on AM 560 up there in Chicago. Tom and Jenny, how are you both doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you, Mike.
Great to see both of you as well. And we got a lot to talk about because you guys are actually up there behind enemy lines in the People's Republic of Chicago. So
Yes.
actually, I guess first, let's go to both of you. Tom, we'll go to you first. If you could kind of give a brief introduction, then we'll go over to you, Jenny, and then we're going to get started.
I was running for state senate about a year and a half ago here in the 33rd district of outside Chicago, and I had some health issues that kind of pulled me back from the race. And then Jenny had me on interviewing me for the state senate race, and we had huge ratings. And then I joined her with the show on AM 560, and we're big conservatives, and some of the things that are going on, obviously, are out of control. So we wanted to get behind the enemy lines and figure out, how do we turn this around, right? I have a law enforcement background, owned a few businesses, and, we're doing this. We want change. I'm not looking for a big title. I think a lot of people out there are just looking for clout, and they're looking for things for themselves. But what's happening, if we don't put up any barriers to kind of put a stop to this socialist movement that's happening, I think we're in trouble. I do.
I agree. And Illinois is unfortunately one of my favorite punching bags just because of just the level of incompetency that your state has and internal sabotage, as far as I'm concerned, with the RNC up there. I mean, it's just absolutely pathetic. I don't know how a state can have $450 billion in unfunded liabilities. It's insane. Jenny, how are you doing this evening?
Good. Thanks for having us on tonight. So like Tommy said, one of the big things is we're business owners in this state, and this is not a state that's for business owners at all. And so I had gotten into politics for a different reason. I have two now teenagers, but during COVID they were not teenagers, and they had our kids mass, and they left for spring break and never came back. I'm currently an elected official in my town, and I got involved to have some say with that. Being said, I ran for mayor as well, lost to a lib, because Pritzker's trying from the bottom up to make sure that the Dems all get in, because that's how we win the top. But the Republicans can't grasp that concept. So I got involved so that we could help the kids, because the school systems are so jacked up here. And so the biggest thing is I thought that I would have a say, but they organize elected officials so that you don't have a say, especially if you're a Republican elected official.
Oh yeah, the deck is stacked, and your education system up there is a joke. I've had Gino Young on my show. I think we've had him on here on Behind Enemy Lines as well. And some of the stories he's telling are like unbelievable, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, the fact that you have 3% of people able to read at grade level in third and fourth grade in several districts within the city, I mean, that's an outright failure right there. I mean, they complain about money, but it's so much of it's wasted on administrators and just useless programs, feel good nonsense. They won't address the real problems. They won't address the discipline. They're not getting a real education. And like everywhere, they're being indoctrinated, not educated. And that's only going to lead to more problems and more dependency in the future. But for some reason, they don't want to fix it. And instead, they, pretend it's, if you want to address this problem, somehow that's racism. But I'm not buying it. I'm sick and tired of this stuff. And I feel like if something isn't done to blue states that have this agenda, because make no mistake, that's what it is, then we're all going to end up footing the bill for it. Like when you guys can't pay everybody's pensions up there, they're going to run to the federal government. They're going to start begging for money. They're going to pressure people into it. And then the rest of the country is going to end up bailing out Illinois and New York and California and Colorado and other states that can't make competent decisions.
Yeah. And the thing you brought up with the unfunded liabilities on the pension side, there are talks that, like with Illinois, like what's the phase if we hit an emergency situation, which, if you look at our currency, it's a fiat currency. Mike,
Yeah.
you cannot keep printing money like this.
No.
Let's just look at the prior administrations. They kept printing this money over and over and over again, and they flooded the market. People are saying inflation it's because of the money printing. That is why you're paying more for your groceries. You're paying more for everything.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? Well, I say, and I've seen this, but I think they want to create a digital currency and reset the system.
I think so
really
too.
And when they do that, they're going to wash all this out. And what they'll do is they want to make it cashless so that you and I, your phone is everything now. Everything will be monitored, what you're spending, what you're taking. So I think they're moving pretty quick towards this. I really do.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. And, we were kind of talking a little bit off air before we got on here. So I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Since we got off the gold standard, we've lost, when you factor inflation and everything together, we've lost approximately, what would that be? Almost 88% of our buying power. I guess it'd be 87.87% of our buying power is gone.
Right.
I mean, that's basically, we'll call it 90%. That's insane. So you can only get it. And this is part of why things are difficult. I think this is a big problem. They don't teach economics in our schools anymore. And they haven't for a long time. They want people to actually be able to make good financial decisions. We encourage people to get credit and buy things they can't afford. Everybody falls in this trap, and that basically just generates endless interest for the banks. They get to think of it like this: that they're helping themselves to a portion of your paycheck every month. But we have poor financial literacy. People don't realize how much they've lost. That this is why you're running into this problem, and the problem is going to get worse. We're getting ready to see another big spike in our food prices because the price of beef and chicken are both about to go up. One of the downstream effects from the Strait of Hormuz being closed has been Europe's not been able to grow food at the rate they need to. They also have had a really bad season in a few countries. I think it was Germany and Austria. That they're both going to be under normal production levels, both due to lack of fertilizer and lack of fuels and increased costs. But this is going to roll off and hit us. We're going to. Are either of you familiar with what they used to call the tortilla riots in the 90s in South America? It's a great story.
Yeah. It was horrible out there. It was horrible.
Yes. And just so our audience knows, I don't think I've talked about it on this program before, but when we started subsidizing corn here to make, ethanol for green energy, and so your car won't run as well because alcohol is less energy dense than gasoline. But in South America, this caused the price of a bushel of corn to go from nearly $2 a bushel to a little over $4 a bushel. They literally had riots in the street because this is a staple food. And it just doubled in price. And even though you're like, $2 to $4, that's not much. Well, yeah, when you're a subsistence. When you're on subsistence income, you're barely making it. You're tilling fields with grandpa's femur just so you can feed yourself. A spike like that is something you can't afford. And we are on the verge of seeing something like that here. People are already stretched thin. You got people using Klarna to buy burritos right now. What are they going to do when all of a sudden a loaf of bread is $5?
Well, that's right. Go ahead, Jenny. It's going to be different. People are at the point now choosing between gas and food for their families. Are they going to fill up their gas, or are they going to buy food this week? Because it's getting to that point, and it's scary for some of these families of 4 and 5 that with minimal income.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, Mike, is if you take a look at different foundations, you have this Bill Gates Foundation and all these different people who had created these large mega companies. You have Microsoft and all these other players in this movement. They want to create artificial foods, fake meat. Yeah. And if you take a look at this stuff is, if you threw it on the street, the ants wouldn't go eat it. It's all poison. And this is the other thing too. It goes hand in hand with the pharmaceutical movement, which they want you to be sick. That's all. They want you to be sick, and they could care less. And they want you to go to the pharmacy because you don't feel good, because they'll give you one pill for this and then for fix this. So it's just a never-ending cycle. And I think now with the internet and all the technology we have, the people are awakening fast, but I think we need to
too late.
Yeah.
It was already put in motion.
Yeah. They were doing this stuff back in the 90s, even with these chemtrail things. And, I don't want to go down that road because some people may say it's a tinfoil hat thing, but it's up there. There's something going on.
Yeah, well, I think of the conspiracy theorists as just being the coming attractions now. You're just getting the information before the masses do.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of this stuff sounds a little nutty, but I mean, even with like the fake foods, the what was it? Not the Wonder Burger. What was the one Burger King got behind?
The Impossible Burger.
There you go. They're out of business now. That was making people sick. Same with that other company that was doing I mean, I guess there's a couple 3D printed meat companies now. Right now, they're fighting different states so they can, so they don't have to label it as artificial. They want you to think it's real. Sorry, go ahead.
The major company behind this artificial meat is Tyson. Now so they're the ones funding the research on it because they feed meat to Taco Bell, McDonald's, all the fast foods, a lot of schools. They can't keep up with the demand. The animals, they're not getting enough in, but it will affect their bottom line. So they need to come up with a imposter type of meat so that their bottom line doesn't get touched and they get the meat pushed out to their customers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, just a quick word to our audience. You guys should be boycotting Tyson anyway. Remember, during the Biden years, they got caught firing, I think it was 2,000 Americans to hire illegal aliens somewhere out west. Here in close where I'm at in Cincinnati in their chicken plant, they're hiring a bunch of illegals from Mauritania and Senegal. I don't know if they're firing Americans or not, but for you guys, I was in the staffing industry for 14 years, so I ran a lot of companies that specialized in production or construction. And so I've got contacts in the industry that are telling me this stuff. We actually did a partner with a private group to do an investigation into this, and they're laundering. So they're laundering a lot of these people through staffing because the company is supposed to be E-Verify compliant. You don't technically work for them if you're through a staffing company, so they'll put you through there because you're writing their paycheck. Then they just have to pretend they have, I had no idea this Senegalese guy that's, running our chicken eviscerator over here. I had no idea he was an illegal alien. Such and such staffing company must have lied to us. They said they were all just fine and could work here.
That's right. That's the industry that I've worked in the last 20 years, mainly in manufacturing, a lot of food manufacturing. And the things that they get away with just like that, I've seen it over and over and over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I picked up a client.
By the way, there was a guy, I don't know his name, and I've got to try and find this article. He's from New Mexico, and he wrote an article about the meat industry and all the big cattle ranchers out west. He's like, there is no way with the population of the U.S. and then all the different things, if you sell meat outside the country, that we could provide all this meat for all these people. There's no possible way. We don't have that much cattle. And I don't think people are paying attention to that. So really, what are we eating? I mean, look at the people getting sick at Taco Bell. They're blaming the salad. I think it's everything there.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you're rolling the dice when you go to Taco Bell anyway. I mean, yeah, or Chipotle for that matter. Right. But that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, you're right. Like the meat production and farming here. Like I know we're importing a lot from Argentina and a couple places in South America now, but for years we were getting Chinese beef or supposedly beef and pork primarily. And when we had these egg prices spike up before the election in 2024, it was basically because they did mass chicken callings in New York and a few other places. Thank you, Kathy Hochul, and that spiked everything through the roof. But that's interesting. I knew that we couldn't meet our production needs for beef, but I hadn't heard that with other foods. I knew that like right now, and they say it's a short-term problem, blah, 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 blah. We've got the screwworm coming up from South America. That's caused a lot of problems with herds in Texas and Oklahoma, I think. There's big concern too now in Colorado and Washington State. Shout out to Right Side Rebel. She's been covering this story. And, there's efforts right now legislatively to ban farming to prevent you from having any kind of animals in Washington State. In Colorado, they've got some blue-haired moonbat down there that wants to pick up the same thing. We can't survive if we can't make our own food, and you're not going to flip a switch and turn a bunch of people into vegans. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
No, not at all, especially me.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. But no, you're right. And this all goes back to the movement that's been formulating, and this has been going on. I've done my
Yeah.
research on this. This Soros Foundation is tied to so much of this and the different people they're funding because they want to change the whole country here
Yep.
into a socialist country. You could start first. You had 2009 in March. You had the Healthcare Act, the Obamacare, which did nothing but create craziness.
Yeah.
They started with that, and they're rolling down the hill and everything, which you see all the people they're putting up for office. Look at all these different people that are winning these offices. Jenny and I were sitting watching the results in Colorado. The girl from Denver, she's a outright communist.
Yeah.
And you look at and I talk about this on the radio. I've said Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. Each city has a lunatic socialist running the city.
Yeah.
And look at the output. People are leaving New York. They're leaving Chicago. LA's another story too. So at some point, I mean, everyone's scratching their head saying, oh, we should have done this. This shouldn't have happened to begin with because we had so many protective measures in place. But these people work their way into every facet of our life. And look at how far they've gone.
Well, they're playing the long game and they're playing it to win. I mean, a lot of this goes back to, a lot of people say, oh, this all goes back to the Federal Reserve and the IRS and 1912, 1913, 1910. It's really before that. It's the Fabian Socialists. I mean, this has been a 100-year plan and then some. And it's been incrementalism. It's something the left does understand very well. As you put a piece forward, you grab that, claw your way forward, and you shift the Overton window further and further over. Now, finally, I think they, like you said, they overplayed their hand during COVID. I think that's what woke a lot of people up when all of a sudden their kids were home from school and they find out they're not being educated, they're being indoctrinated, that it's all this climate nonsense, LGBTQ MS-13 bullshit getting shoved down their throats in the classroom, and they're not learning. I mean, they can barely count. They can barely. I mean, did you guys happen to see? I mean, I wish I would have grabbed this. Did you guys happen to see this video from this high school teacher where he breaks down crying that the students he's teaching can't read?
I saw it this morning. Yep.
Yeah, I saw it on Gateway Pundit earlier, and it is pathetic. But if we don't fix this problem, I guess I'm sorry, I pulled myself off topic there. But it's been a multifaceted march. It isn't just one piece, and Europe is further down the pipeline than we are. And I mean, I think they're headed towards a civil war there too. If they don't do something about the Islamification of Europe soon, that it's going to be an all-out battle. The people have had enough. We haven't gotten to that point here yet. Hopefully we do soon, but we got to push back and get in front of these problems and erase them before they really have their claws into us. Because you're right. The DSA candidates, they are leading the Democrats around by their testicles right now. They keep winning more and more seats. I do think it'll ultimately blow up in their face, but it's not going to in the short term. Like, they're the new hotness. That's where the money is, and that's where the party's going to go.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, if you take a look at Illinois, let's just say this, and I've talked to Terry about this many times. Yesterday, I told him the infighting in the Republican Party in Illinois is so awful. They're cannibals. Yes. I was actively involved. I wanted to pull off this Senate seat, and people are like, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm one person. I'm just trying to make the movement grow farther because it takes a group of people with like minds in business and having a socially normal life for your family and your friends. But Illinois is the GOP here has just there's just no unity. And I get politics, but they have blown this place up. You have this new guy running, Colin Corbett, as an independent, which we know where he came from. And I just feel like we just need a rebirth of something new because
a reset in the GOP.
Yeah, it's not good.
And what the GOP is too stupid. Well, they are the GOP. Is the Democrats actually plant their own people in the GOP to infiltrate it, and it's working. And everybody is too stupid to see it. And then they follow their leaders. You know what I mean? But their leaders are actually Democrats posing as Republicans. And it's insane that we're falling for this.
Yeah.
Yes. Mike, I call them undocumented Democrats or trans Republicans.
We're dealing with a couple that are just a Looney Tune show. And it really scares me. Not scares me, but I look at it and I say, wait a minute. these people, they spend all day trying to destroy people online, people that are actually common sense people trying to make a difference. And they're just out harassing people through Facebook, through Instagram. They're reaching out to people's families, their jobs. And I say to myself, you have one person going online saying they're going to restructure the GOP. And you probably have an idea where I'm going with this, but
Yeah.
it's ugly. It's ugly. And it makes me say to myself, like, I'd like to get back into this, but we've stepped back, and I've just said, I just don't want to deal with the nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, the GOP, the lower level GOP, the PCs, and the people that are just,
Yeah.
going to events, they're the real sheep. They're the ones following what the leaders say and believing in instead of actually thinking for themselves and seeing what's so obvious.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
I mean-
and we're not here to do a bash fest. I'm giving you an analyzation of what I've seen. I have almost 15 years in law enforcement. I have built many businesses. I've done many things. I didn't get there because, I look at things and I kind of make a determination of what's going on. And over the past couple of years, and I've had this conversation with Jenny many times, I've gone to some of these things and I've said, if they spent the time they do gossiping and tearing each other up, right?
Yeah.
And you got a few players in this that are just, they're crazy people. But if they spent the time they do gossiping and creating all this craziness, if they went out on the street and used that energy to talk to people and get that movement going, they'd probably win some elections. But I don't think November is going to be a pretty sight in Illinois.
No, it definitely isn't. And the problem, in my opinion, as an outsider in Illinois, is both top down and bottom up. I mean, your previous RNC state leader, what was Kathy Selby? Was that her name?
Salvi, yeah, Kathy Salvi.
I mean, very nice lady, but this is not a time for niceness. We need killers running the party. We need people that were going to go out there, break faces, and win elections. This is not a time to be nice. You need to call people to the mat, and you need real fighters running. These namby-pamby, yellow-bellied pickle kissers that ran for half your seats in the state, that's why they lose. Because nobody is excited to go vote for somebody that's going to reach across the aisle and work with the Democrats. Those days are over. Exactly. You're delusional if you think that's what the people still want. Sorry, go ahead.
We need to bully the Dems out.
Yeah,
yes.
Mike, do your research. If you have chance, do your research and look at what the Republicans have bought in cash and donations. It's not good. I mean, there's no money.
Trust me, I know.
And I'll tell you, the other thing is people are saying this, and I hope they're watching, because Jenny and I have been reached out by many people with the radio, just even on the street. You don't want to donate to something that's not giving you good results. Let's take a look at the past
bad investment.
It's a bad investment. The past 16 years in Illinois, your taxes have gone up 75% on your property. What are you donating to? I think people would rather just say, I'm out. This is what you wanted. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, you've had a lot of people leaving or on the verge of leaving the state there because it's an unwinnable situation. I mean, what kills me too during your last primary, I mean, you had 4 different candidates that were left off the ballot in different places. I guess one of them managed to actually win anyway at the state level, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on what his name was. But the other ones, a couple of them were ahead in polling, and then suddenly election day they come in at 20% or less because they're not on the ballot. And then the GOP is like, oh, guys, mistakes happen. Humans make errors. We're not going to fight any of this legally. Okay, like one precinct getting the wrong ballots, I can see how that could happen. It shouldn't. There should be somebody checking this stuff. But when you have entire counties where people are left off the ballot and then they choose not to do anything, their job is to fight for you as ruthlessly as humanly possible. And maybe if they did that, the GOP could win some seats there. But it's just not going to happen as long as you have wusses running the party that aren't willing to go to the mattresses with the left and fight as dirty as they are.
Right. And, it's funny because I said this to Jenny when I first got to know Jenny over a year ago. I had said to her, when I was 18 years old, my uncle had introduced me into the Republican Party. And so I was young, my personality, I could speak to people. I loved it. I was
Mhm.
involved with the Rosemont, Elmwood Park, the Lighton Township Republicans, different organizations, and they had solid power. No one put up with any bullshit in those parties over there. Now, you look at these western suburbs in Illinois here. It's disarray.
Mhm.
You have and look, and I'm not here to criticize anyone. I'm just here to tell you something. Your message is not really going far. You have people giving speeches and talking about blah 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 blah. People want to hear about if you're going to do it, who's with you, because you're not going to do it by yourself. And it's exactly what's happening is they're hearing this stuff. They're seeing these postcards come in. We've heard all this before for the past 16 years. It's all
Yeah.
bullshit. And
Yeah.
it is. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Yeah. Well, that's the great frustration right now. And that's my big concern coming up to the midterms is we have not gotten what we voted for yet. And everybody knows it.
No.
I know there's a lot of cheerleaders out there. And I still support Trump. But the fact of the matter is we have not seen one major figure arrested. I'm glad
Mhm.
they've gone after the SPLC. I know a lot of people saying, oh, look, Todd Blanche has done something. That investigation started 3 years ago. So prior to Trump's term started, now I don't expect the Biden DOJ was going to take it very seriously and probably would have dismissed things at some point
Right.
and then swept it under the carpet. But again, I was expecting to see, John Brennan, Christopher Wray, people like that should have been frog marched a long time ago.
Yes.
We're over a year and a half in. This is completely unacceptable, and this is why
Mhm.
people are angry. Same with deportations. And again, I understand that they've done a little better job with. I understand these rogue judges have been trying to block things every step of the way, and it took time to get the funding they needed and other stuff. But
Mhm.
4,000 a day is what they're saying they're deporting right now. Those are rookie numbers. We've got 40 million people to get rid of, is what they're estimating now. So, and we have a very limited window to do that. These 49 Republicans that just signed on to this amnesty bill for the poor farm workers that we need. I don't want to hear it. That expanded immediately to factory workers and warehouse. So shut your mouth. We are not giving anybody any amnesty for any reason whatsoever, not until we fix the problem. And that is not going to happen anytime soon. In fact, I think we need to end all immigration for at least the next 10 years and focus on assimilation. Now, we can have a
Yes.
few emergency visas for legitimate asylum cases.
Mhm.
We're not total monsters, but
Mhm.
and same with H-1B. We have almost 1 million people here right now on H-1B visas, and most of these are not people that we need. These are people stealing jobs from Americans. So,
At half the cost.
oh yeah, you're exactly right. They pay them half to 2/3 on average, but it's also a lot of janitors and receptionists and people like that I know you can find Americans to do those jobs. Now, I do understand that there are a few positions, like I always bring up robotics engineers because there is a drastic shortage there, but I think we can get the H-1B numbers down to 25,000 people, maybe 50,000. I'll be generous. We certainly don't need 1 million foreign workers here.
No.
No.
No, and they don't, they don't pay the same taxes. They don't pay anything that we pay.
And they send half their
and-
money back to Waziristan.
Right.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the unemployment rate that we have here, the unemployment cost that we're paying out for these people that, it doesn't make any sense. Again, from the employment industry, I keep seeing these H-1B visas everywhere, and they're taking $150,000 jobs for $85,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for them, it's great.
And
sorry,
you
go
know
ahead.
what's sad about this is that we have so many protective measures in our Constitution. You have so many different laws that were created to protect the citizen,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't seem like the citizen matters anymore. It's all about what they let in here.
Yep.
And for me to see some of these state senators here in Illinois showing up at these protests, telling you and me who are paying 50% of our money into taxes, by the time you're done, it's probably more.
Yeah.
And you're telling me I have to pay for somebody who just crossed the border with a pair of $150 Air Jordans on? Where am I wrong here?
We are exactly right. And this is the great frustration that's growing here and in Europe. They are sick and tired of foreign nationals being treated better than the native citizens of the countries that we're talking about, whether it's the United States or the UK or wherever. None of this should be happening. And honestly, we need to start hanging the people that allowed this to happen, that allowed this mass invasion, because otherwise, again, nothing will change.
Spain
Yep.
is out of control. I talked to a friend of mine yesterday. He was talking about Italy, and he's from Italy, and he said Italy is in an uproar. It's turning into a crazy pool over there with all this nonsense.
Mhm.
But if you take a look at everything, do your research. It's the big players in this again. It's these global elites. You have Soros, Klaus Schwab. You have another guy, this new guy who's running the World Economic Forum. These people are all into a global agenda, and they're pulling a lot of strings and getting it done. Europe is about
Yeah.
to go, though. I do agree with you there, Mike. It's going to go soon. Something's going to give there.
Yes. Well, a lot of it too is tied into this advancing in technology. The other thing we were going to discuss tonight, and let's go ahead and get into, is flock cameras, because
Yeah.
this is something in it, but it isn't just Flocks. There are a few other companies that are ultimately worse, but they're not getting the attention that Flock is. And most of that is because Flock has over 100,000 cameras already. And guys, if you haven't already bookmarked dflock.com or dflock.org, sorry. Make sure you do that and find out how close they are to you. Because here in Ohio, they're putting them in all kinds of church parking lots right now, too. I wonder what database that's going to. But this is a real problem, and it's something that, for once, you have people on both sides of the political aisle in agreement that this is mass surveillance, this is warrantless searches. This all needs to end. Well, law enforcement should not be able to pull camera data like this without a warrant. Now, if you want to have like some emergency powers for, say, an active terrorist or something like that, somebody's literally running around with a truck full of explosives, fine. We can put a rider in there for a situation like that, because that was already how warrants were handled. Certain types of warrants were handled prior to after following September 11th, when we changed everything and started violating everybody's constitutional rights to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, and I ran the very first. I've been fighting this for over 2 years now. I ran the very first show and basically movement against flock cameras over 2 years ago at this point. And exactly what I said was going to happen is now happening. And they're stalking police officers. I think it's over 60 or more in the country. They're getting arrested. They're mass surveying where you go. I was on a different podcast this morning discussing this. If a husband leaves for work, leaves his wife and kids for work, they'll pick up his patterns every single day. They will know when the wife is home alone, when the kids are home alone. And this is what they're doing and potentially using the data for.
Yeah.
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 I'm trying to look up right now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Jenny brought this up to me when I was running for office, and this was over a year ago, was it, Jenny? Mm-hmm. Because you had been really on this, and I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And then the past 6 weeks, this flock camera thing has exploded, because now the regular working people are saying, wait a minute, you're putting these all over my town.
They're everywhere. Everywhere you go. Lowe's has one at every entrance and exit in all of their stores.
Stop shopping at Lowe's.
Make sense. Stop shopping at Lowe's. That's it.
Yeah.
Because why do you need to have a flock camera every single person that comes and goes? And then let's not forget the one that they put in Michigan facing a dispensary, a legal dispensary, that a man left Michigan, went to Wisconsin, and got pulled over in Wisconsin for buying weed legally in Michigan.
I mean, again, this is insane. I saw a story where there's one of these, Moms Demand Action, one of these gun grabber groups. They're wanting to put them up near gun stores to track anybody that's buying firearms. So I got a good little anecdotal story for you. I just tried to Google how many police officers had been arrested or fired for misuse of flock cameras, but Google's AI doesn't want to answer that question. It says right now it can't generate an AI overview, and that I should try again later. So I tried on a different device and I got the same response. Maybe that's a server error, but I kind of feel like it isn't.
Yeah. And that's, and it's a huge problem, and it's getting worse and worse. And the one of the points that I brought up this morning is they are 71% inaccurate on what they send the police departments. So if you only have a 29% accuracy rate on anything, are you trusting this device?
No.
They are pulling moms going to the grocery store with their children, out of cars at gunpoint, because these AI generated pictures are missing a letter, adding a letter, getting the wrong state. And so they're traumatizing children, families. 71%. Now, only 4% of crimes that flock cameras are involved in are solved. So the small amount of crimes that flock's involved in, they're only 4% is all that's being solved on them because of them. It's not worth the payoff. Do we save a child here and there? Yes. But how many children have seen their parents pull out of cars at gunpoint and are traumatized now?
Well, and do we know that, if proper channels have been followed to get warrants for surveillance or whatever the case would not have also been solved? And again, what is the price of liberty? There's always going to, if everybody had to wear a mandatory body camera 24 hours a day, we'd all be a lot safer, and there would be no crime that went unsolved. Unless somebody were to take off that body camera and, not obey the law. But it's not worth that price for the invasion of privacy.
That's right.
We've got to go back to that, this surrendering our freedoms to appease, it's a false narrative. So 4% of crimes, or 4% of, how is that statistic? Can you give me that one more time?
It's 4% of the crimes that flocks are used in. So only 4% of the crimes flocks are used in are actually solved. So not 4% of crime overall, 4% that flocks are used in. And here's the thing, these police departments so badly want this. Why? Because it makes their job easier. It gets them promotions. Here's what they're not seeing. Flock is working on replacing them. We won't need them anymore after Flock evolves into something bigger and more accurate and stuff like that. And it will. But what they're not understanding is these young guys are like, oh, it makes our job so easy. No. You are supporting your replacement in your industry. They say there are some things that AI can't replace, like public safety. Wrong.
Yeah, just a matter of time.
Look at the name Flock right there. Tells you.
Yeah.
They know they got you.
Yes.
We looked that up earlier too, Jenny. We were talking about this with the data center with Flock, right? Aren't they, you can't get any info out of them right now? It's just through the law enforcement agency, right?
Yes. So so you can't FOIA directly from Flock. So the Freedom of Information Act, it does not. You'd have to FOIA from the police department. And what we're finding is the FOIAs that we're getting, the police departments are finding ways around not responding to the FOIAs that are being asked in several cities across America. And it's funny. So there was a lawsuit a couple years back. I think it was in the Carolinas. And when I first started researching, it was only out there. It might have been Atlanta, where Flock is from too. And I tracked down, there was one resident out there, and I totally forget his name, but I tracked him down. I literally stalked him for like 2 weeks before I finally got his cell phone and called him. He's like, how did you find me? I don't want people to find me. He had and won the very first lawsuit from Flock and the invasion of privacy, and they ended up being removed in his small town. So he didn't want to he signed, I don't know if it was an NDA, but he didn't want to be too open with how he did it.
Yeah.
So I tried to get out of him how he won this lawsuit, and he wasn't very open about it because he didn't want to be a public figure on this, and he didn't want to be attacked and targeted by police, rightfully so. But why are there no more lawsuits? Why are people rolling over and taking this?
Well, this is a common tactic, though, that the government uses, where they, outsource different things. So then the normal checks and balances, the normal laws no longer apply, because the data is now handled by a private agency. It's the same reason they do public-private partnerships and have an NGO go do their dirty work or go do things that are illegal. However, again, like there have already been cases that have gone to the Supreme Court regarding not necessarily this, but instances where the federal government cannot use a third party to deprive somebody of their constitutional rights. But this is big business. This is big money. It's the same problem with the data centers. Right now, unfortunately, there are a lot of big GOP donors that are involved with the AI data centers and with Flock security cameras and with all the other evil companies that are out there right now, ending our privacy. So they want to make their money, and they don't want anybody talking bad about it. Like, I know for a fact that politicians that are running for office right now at the federal level that have gone to DC to meet with institutional organizations on the right are being told that they will not get any funding or any backing if they are out there bad mouthing data centers or AI or surveillance or any of this stuff, that's the way of the future. And this is what we're getting behind. You're expected to get in line with everybody else, but that is not what the people want. And there is immense harm coming from both like flock cameras and unlimited surveillance and these data centers that are going in different places. I mean, there's a town in Georgia that they drank 30 million gallons of water and left the residents with basically air coming out of their faucets. Here near Cincinnati, where Annie Cyrus lives, she had her electrical rates literally double when they put the 3 facilities in Fairfield or near Fairfield.
Yeah.
And Flock claims that they have nothing to do with data centers, but you take billions and billions and billions of pictures each month. They're not going to be saved on a thumb drive. They need several data centers, and they claim that they only keep them for 30 days. I don't believe that for a second. Those pictures stay around forever, and these data centers are needed for the amount of pictures of every license plate. And let's be for real, we know it's not just license plates because it has facial recognition features. So every single picture of every single car that drives by every single camera, that adds up to billions in a week.
Yes.
But if you look at the whole thing with what they're doing here is they're putting together, in my opinion, they want to control exactly what we were talking about earlier. They want to control every aspect of your life.
It's going to be 15-minute cities.
Yeah, and that's what they want. They want to control. They want to do everything to make you feel safe, but behind the scenes, you're losing all your freedoms.
Of course.
Right. And that's what they sell it on, is they sell it on safety. But it's again, we see the data. It's not.
There's nothing to do with it.
And on top of it, these cameras are very, very expensive. Okay,
yeah.
They are not a revenue generator. They are very costly to towns without a lot of money, where there's not road infrastructure, water infrastructure, other sources of, they need the money. So the question is, why are these police departments so adamant about having these?
Yeah.
Well, and this is the thing too. Flock cameras. There's an annual service fee per camera of $2,500 to $3,000 plus installation fees, and it looks like the camera started around Well, this won't give me an exact number, so we're going to say around $15,000 per camera. So that's why when you see like a small town that puts up 8 cameras and it costs them $140,000 when it's all said and done, that's why. And I'm sure there's other surcharges or whatever on there.
There's other surcharges based on storing the data as well. So there is upcharges on that, because I'm an elected official that voted against these cameras. And there are charges that have to do with that.
Yeah, and that's
look at the red light camera thing that was going on. I was living in Phoenix at the time with the scandal they had there with the red light cameras, and they were actually shortening the times of you crossing the light by a second or two so that they can get the revenue out of you. Do you see how? Because behind all this is something evil, in my opinion.
Yes.
Jenny and I were out to dinner last week, and we were really in a conversation. Jenny, you see, we were counting the they're all over the place out here in the western suburbs.
I always have dflock.org open, or I have the app on my phone as well. And for people that don't want to be on these cameras, they also have the DFlock app also has an Apple Maps or a Google Maps where it will take you around the cameras as well. The problem is in some towns it's impossible. You'd have to go around the town. But I was driving down. Where were we going? We were going to meet Terry for dinner, actually.
Yeah, we were taking Route 59.
Yeah. We were going down Gulf Road in Schaumburg, which is a big city just outside of Chicago. And all of a sudden there was a big circle of no flock cameras, probably 2.5, 3 miles wide. And I go, and there's several cameras on every street, everywhere around there in this whole town and the town over. And I go to town, I go, somebody lives here who didn't want a flock camera around, a decision maker or somebody of influence that did not want these around, and they around that entire neighborhood, there is no flock cameras. Make it make sense.
Well, you're exactly right. I'm sure that's what it is. Somebody was smart enough to fight back, or maybe somebody that got in front of this early, or maybe found laws that were already on the books in the town or whatever it was to prevent them from using surveillance, an online surveillance system like this. Because you're exactly right. This is part of a bigger network, because it isn't just Flock. There's another company. Name starts with an A.
Yeah,
it'll come to me here
they're
in a
much
second.
smaller. And
Well,
they actually have the AI facial features already put in place.
yes, and they're actually linked, believe it or not, and I think they're the bigger player. I just watched a thing about this, that they've kind of been operating these systems in the background. Believe it or not, they were funded with seed money from Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Correct.
wow.
So
Yep.
it's
And fun fact,
sorry, go ahead.
there are something like 20 flock cameras on Epstein Island. Why?
Are
There
you
are no
serious?
cars. Yes, there are no cars. I know everything about flock. I've been so against them. It's nothing. There are no cars passing through Epstein Island. So what do they need a license plate reader on Epstein Island for?
That's hilarious. Especially there. I mean, there's plenty of other camera systems you can buy now that are not online, that you can control yourself, that still alert for a face. They still have facial recognition. They still store images of people. Like, that's what I've got around here, is a system that is offline, that just reports back to me and lets me know if somebody enters the property in any direction. But yeah, it is part of something even bigger and even more insidious. That's why they want this database, because they're not just tracking license plate and who's where. They're not looking for, people with warrants out or something like that. Because if that was the police excuse, like they were using them for high profile warrants, see where somebody's driving around that needs to be arrested. Again, I don't think that is still good, but that would at least be more acceptable. At the end of the day, they should have to get warrants for anything that they're accessing this database for, anything whatsoever. Why
did they sell the data? Why did Flock sell the data to the federal government?
Yeah.
What did the federal government need with that data?
And what else are they doing with it? That's my bigger question, because they are tracking all of us. They're building profiles. They know where we go. Well, what day do you go buy groceries? What day does this happen? Is there anything that's outside of your normal pattern that you do that gets flagged then? I mean, this is a much bigger threat than I think most people are. I think some people are starting to see it, but like you said, this is one part of a bigger puzzle. This is about control. This is another step in that 15-minute city, eat the bugs, live in the pod, you'll be happy, you're not going to own anything. This is just another part of that. And I think with you expand this into, say, a digital currency or something like that, that's where you really are talking, nightmare post apocalyptic slave state scenarios.
Well, this is violating, sorry, Tom, this is violating the Fourth Amendment. When does our first, second, third, fifth, when do the rest of them get violated? When do they take our guns? When do they kill our free speech?
Yeah, here's the other thing, the constitutionality of it. Now let's take a look at that. There's so many avenues you can go down here. But I said this to a friend of mine the other day. We were talking about this craziness, because it is craziness. And I said, if you think about it, do we really have a constitution anymore?
Nope.
Think about it. Do you really have a constitution? If you go online and you say something about somebody, and you're in a position of maybe law enforcement, a fireman, whatever, something where you're funded by the public, right? Yeah. And then somebody sees your comment and they let you go, and they say, "Yeah, we're letting you go for a." Well, wait a minute. Where's the free speech? Do you see how this is breaking everything down? And these Flock cameras are just accelerating this to a level of George Orwell's 1984. I mean, we are living that book on steroids right now. Everything you do is tracked. They know with your phone. They know where you're at. Even the cars, they have black boxes now. I mean, they have everything in it.
Every car has a black box now.
So do you really have a constitution anymore?
And the people that are saying, though, well, you have your phone and that tracks you. The federal government does not track you through your phones. One thing, Apple and, Windows, they're all very The government has to have a warrant for them to release data. They have not crossed the line on that. And it's ignorant to say, well, you have a phone and you're on camera everywhere you go. That's not the point. The point is, what are they doing with this data? They have
Yeah.
been proven to give police officers the power to stalk people. They have free open access
Yeah.
to it. And most of them are open across the country. So I was talking to a police officer. I was interviewing a police officer. He showed me his, I won't say the town that he works in, but his town uses them. And he could see what was going on with flock cameras in Colorado. And he worked in Illinois. What does he
Well,
need to see what's going on in Colorado for?
Yeah, and
well,
it's funny, Mike. My years in law enforcement, we're going back a while back, and I've always said to people some of the things they were passing then, um, I just was questioning myself, the laws they were passing, because I was in the back of my mind saying, wait a minute, this is our Constitution you're violating. So there's a lot of things happening now. And, when you watch people saying, well, my Constitution, I just don't know anymore. Is it really valid anymore? I don't think so. And I
it
don't want to
doesn't.
sound that way. It doesn't, does it?
No, it doesn't seem to be. It's stripped away more and more every day, and they blame technology and changing times. As you
Hmm.
said, this is what Orwell predicted. Reality, what we
Hmm.
need to do is take things back for ourselves. The only way we're going to do that is if there's real repercussions for people that also misuse the data. For
Hmm.
example, like I saw a video earlier today, and they were talking about an area in particular. And sorry, I don't remember what state this was or what city, where the police had been making arrests using flock cameras. Again, they were getting bad data most of the time, but they were also misusing it even as far as the courts should have been concerned, like just labeling things as a search, not actually documenting what they looked through or how they arrived to go find this suspect or do this or do that. Basically, sloppy police work that would normally get a case thrown out, but because it's all digital and the judge just sees, oh, we got it from Flock. Or again, warrantless searches was the other thing he was bringing up, using this for to then get or using information not legally obtained to then get a warrant from a judge. So we're just going to have to put our foot down. But the police departments, others that misuse it, there's going to have to be real penalties,
Yeah.
like mandatory 20+ year prison sentences,
They're
something
going
to
to have
make.
to make an example of somebody.
Oh yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people, I think.
Yeah, and a woman police officer was just arrested last week because what she was doing, she looked up over 400 times her current boyfriend's ex-wife. What did she need that data for, and why did she have access to do it over 400 times?
Well, they should. There, I mean, a simple fix there would be accountability. Anybody that you search on there, better be connected to a case that you have. The minute they find one person, maybe it will get a little leeway for a mistyped name, but one that you're doing something illegal, immediately you're suspended. If they confirm that you're misusing the system, terminate them, blacklist them, and I would find a crime to charge them with. It can't be that hard.
Make a crime to do it, or make a law, and the laws are behind this.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that, because just 1 hour before the show started, Flock announced that they are putting guardrails in place so that they can't have misuse. But you know what? They lied, saying they wouldn't give the
Yeah.
data to the feds. So I don't believe
Mhm.
that for a second. They're just trying to save face because
And
LA, the town of LA, the city of LA stopped using Flock because of this.
I'll tell you exactly what they're doing. They're going to go put a little screen on there, a little thing that'll pop up before the police go searches for their ex-girlfriend that says Flock's not liable for your
Yeah.
searches. Check here to get the data. And they're just going to absolve themselves from criminal liability somehow, or try to. They're not going to put any real guardrails. Are you kidding?
Nope,
No,
not
they
a
never do.
chance.
They never do.
No chance. They're not going to do anything, and they're because what nobody would buy it then. No town would
No.
buy it.
And what guardrails would they be putting in to begin with?
Jenny, have you looked me up on the flock cameras yet?
I did. So there's a website where you can search if your license plates were like looked up in a crime. But his license plate was looked up in a crime, but it was a Rhode Island with the same
Yeah.
license plate.
Get the flock out of here. Get the
Yeah.
flock
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of here. Get the flock out of there.
That's right. Well, I mean,
it's crazy because the access people have to this. And why do you care if I went for a pizza and a beer with a friend? And then, you know, it's like, what do you need to know where I was for? Who cares?
Well, and where does it go farther, right? So Facebook has been hacked, Instagram's been hacked, everything's been hacked. My bank account's been hacked, our phones have been hacked, everything gets hacked. This will be hacked. It probably has been, and we don't.
It probably already has. I mean, think about it. If you're a foreign country,
China, yes.
Think about it. Like if you're China or you're Russia or you're any adversarial nation, and suddenly you had access to a camera network, over 100,000 cameras across the nation, and you can now monitor anybody that you want. I mean, honestly, they wouldn't even have to hack it. Couldn't China just buy a license? Because Flock does sell foreign countries the data on Americans. So they wouldn't even have to hack it. They could just pay, I don't know, 50 grand a month to Flock.
Yeah, pay Flock enough money and they'd have access to it.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be a lot less money than you or I would think it was.
Probably.
The other thing too, you brought this up with the hacking. I don't know if you've seen the congressional report that came out a couple of days ago, but China is already sitting in our power grid. They are trying to control our power grid. So if they've gotten there already, right, what's next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But a foreign country, an enemy is going to use this data. It's too small of a company that grew too fast to have the firewalls that it takes to not have the data hacked.
Yes. And even if it's not mass surveillance, what if it's targeted harassment? You know, China knows that we have a scientist developing something, I don't know, whatever. And they want to convince this person to stop, to sabotage their own research. Now all of a sudden, you know who this person is, where they live, their family members, where their kids live, where they go every day. And it wouldn't be that hard to build a little dossier that you could then have somebody bump the person and hand off and say, well, you know, if you don't back off on this weapons research, you don't resign your position, or you don't do this or that, you know, something might happen to your grandkids there. Here's the playground. They go there every Tuesday and Thursday.
That's right. Yep. And when they bring in the facial recognition, they'll be able to see the children in the back seat of your car, and they'll be able to take their facial recognition and their body movements, and they're going to have that for the rest of your child's life.
Just wait until they start merging the data. I mean, I saw this thing with the company that puts the cameras on school buses. I don't know why my brain is not working tonight, but I guess they're sharing the data now and using these as license plate readers. It started off as it was supposed to be a safety feature. You know, if somebody was illegally passing a school bus with little signs out and they're picking up kids or dropping them off or whatever, it was supposed to grab that license plate, grab that picture so they could send that person a ticket so they didn't almost run over your kids. And now it's recording everything, every car that goes by, every license plate, where the kids are. And I think this is another thing that's going on that's getting very little of attention. And it's, you know, wait till they merge all this, and then the cameras in your car too. And they'll just have 24/7. Your refrigerator is going to be spying on you like it already is, your Alexa. And they're going to have total control. They are going to know everything about you. And again, if this stuff falls into the wrong hands, think of all the blackmail opportunities.
Well, where we're finding these cameras now are parks and pools. Why are these in parks and pools? Not in the parking lot, in the pool area. What do you need a license plate reader? It is not a license plate reader. They are lying to us.
I saw the story about this with it was like a Jewish rec center that they had put a Flock camera out front, and it was on the same network as existing cameras that did not belong to Flock that were inside their building. Employees at Flock then started accessing the other cameras, basically hacked their network and gained access to the other cameras, and wouldn't you know it, they were watching the ones in the children's gymnasium and the swimming pools the most.
Yep. And it's funny too that you say that too, because again, I'm in recruiting, and I saw Flock was actually advertising for field sales reps. I remember when I got a presentation as an elected official from a field sales rep, and the qualifications were so minimal, and they have access to Flock cameras. So whether they do a background check or not,
oh my gosh,
you get some guy off the street without some kind of clearance that has access to every, and then all of a sudden he gets drunk with his friends at a party. Now everybody's got access to it. We download some data and we go rob a couple houses.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I've seen.
If you look, Mike, real quick too, if you look at with our phones, right? If you start talking about something, and it's happened with you and I, Jenny, and it happens to everybody now. If you just start talking, you might even talk about Home Depot, and all of a sudden you open up Facebook and all the Home Depot ads start popping up. So we're already there.
Yep. Yeah. And that happens more than most of us like. That just happened to me today. I was helping my neighbor owns a painting company. I was out helping him this morning. He's been short staffed for the last few weeks. Several people out sick. So I've been picking up a little time here and there trying to help him out. And we were talking, we were at a location and somebody else there noticed there were a bunch of mushrooms that popped up. My phone's been giving me ads for these kits that you can buy to grow mushrooms at home now all day. And I certainly, have not said the word mushroom probably in weeks since the last time I grilled a steak is probably the last time. Now suddenly I'm getting those ads. And this is the conversation we had outside before we walked into the building to go take care of a few things there. They're always watching, man. Any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave our audience with before we wrap things up? And Tom, we'll go to you first.
Jenny and I, we're proud to be on the show here. We're happy you guys have had us on here. And, we'd like to move this conservative movement to a different level. We're in this because Mike, Terry, Jenny, myself, we're all seeing things move quickly. Yeah. I just hope we can put up a barrier to stop this and put the right people in office. I also see a lot of things happening here in Illinois that just disgust me. But I wish the Republican Party here would put some balls on and do something soon because November's not far away.
Right.
You're here.
Yeah. We'll be back on as a guest on Tuesday as well.
Yes.
So look forward to a new topic on Tuesday, and then be sure to follow. If you're in Illinois, DFLOC Illinois, but there's also another page called DFLOC America. These are people, patriots, getting involved. And like you said, Mike, it's one thing that brings both sides together because people are just tired of being surveyed. So, I'm so passionate about this FLOC thing. So get involved, locally and nationally with it because it's going to take a lot of us to get rid of this one.
Yeah. And real quickly before we go, I'm glad we changed. We had a couple other topics, but I'm glad we talked about this, Jenny, because she has been so passionate about it. But the more I've looked into it, and I'm with her all the time, but it's really scary. And I'm glad we brought this up because I don't think the average person, now the social media is bringing it up and it's popping up everywhere. I think we need more awareness to this topic, really.
Agreed. Well, I kind of accidentally took us off the rails a little bit at the beginning of the show, so I'll take the blame for that. But I think we had a lot of good conversations here, a lot of good information. And guys, I want to thank you both for joining us here tonight on Behind the Enemy Lines. Terry's going to be back on Tuesday. To our audience that's watching right now, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And we'll be back on Tuesday.